Well, hello, hello, and welcome to my show. I'm Kat Knecht, your host, and today I have a special version of this podcast. This one is going to be dedicated, I'm going to say, to my community, Soul Driven Success Business Academy community. There are over 400 coaches who belong to this community, and there are some who I've been working with individually and in groups, and they have inspired me so many ways. But the inspiration today is about their stories. One of the elements in my business building development course, Evolve Your Coaching Business, which is based on my book, Evolve Your Coaching Business, there's a whole segment on digging into your life story and finding the moments where things changed for you, where you had something challenging that you faced and you were able to overcome it, where there was an accomplishment beyond what you imagined. So I have the students in my course and in my program dig into their past, find those transformational moments, and create a story so that they can be anchored. The one of the purposes is to have them grounded in their purpose. So there are many ways we discover our purpose in this life, but I feel like when we look at our stories, and what are the things that we've experienced and faced, the purpose becomes clear, crystal clear. And this is what I found over the 2 years that I've been offering this particular course is that all of the people who've gone through the course have said to me when they got their story clear, they knew who they were here to serve, their niche became clear, their message. I have a segment in my course that's called A Message That Matters. Your message does matter. If you are a coach in business, this is what people really want to know about you. They want to know, what have you experienced that inspires you to want to help others, and that will inspire them to seek your help. So, on today's show, I'm going to start a series where I will be interviewing, talking to many of the people in my community, Soul Driven Success, and having them come on the show and tell their stories and talk about things that they have experienced and how they use that experience now to help other people. I love, because this is what I love about coaching the most, is that it's actually a profession that is intended to lift people up, to become their live their highest self life. You know, we say live in your best life, but truly from the heart, from the soul. So I'm going to kick this off today with telling my own story. So this is I've written this story, so I'm going to part of this. I'm actually going to be reading and riffing, let's say. I'm going to be reading, but I'll be embellishing as I go along. This is a story that's in my course. It is because I wanted to give an example to the people who I work with. It's a very vulnerable story for me. It's a true story. It is why I am here as a coach, as a leader for the Coactive Training Institute, writing books, writing blogs, and on this podcast, because I actually believe in what this story, the guidance I got that this story is going to reveal. And I want to share it with others, and I'm sharing it with you today. Here's the story. I was 17 and I was on a road trip with my friend Marianne. This was back in 1974, and we were hitchhiking from Grand Rapids, Michigan to Denver, and we had stopped at a hotel. So we stopped at a hotel. We're going to spend the night, kind of regroup, and I went to the bar to kind of get there was nobody at the hotel, so I went to the bar and I struck up this conversation with this what I call a baby-faced cowboy. He told me that he would take us to Denver and we could stay with friends of his. He knew the city well. He said it could be fun. He seemed like a nice guy. My gut, though, said, I don't think so. But a few minutes later, Marianne and I were in his car driving on a dark night in the flatlands of Colorado. And as we drove away from the light, this cowboy was no longer chatting us up. He was quiet until he spoke and ordered us to take off all of our clothes. He literally said, I want to see those clothes fly. I looked his way and I saw at that moment that he was pointing a gun at us. We drove into the night. There were no houses, no lights. I felt no hope. I was terrified. It's a terror I can feel right now as I'm telling you this story. And I take a breath because what happened next was I opened to guidance and asked for help. There was a moment he stopped the car and my friend Marianne jumped out of the car. She grabbed his gun. There was actually were gunshots behind me. And I opened to guidance and I was like, what the heck do I do? And I got this really clear guidance that I was really good at being friends, being friendly. So when this cowboy got back in the car, I started being as friendly as I knew how to be. I remember there was a moment on the radio, the song was playing, I shot the sheriff, and terror again went through me. I was like, this is a real deal. I'm in the middle of nowhere. This guy has a gun at my head, and it was at this point literally at my head. And we just started talking. He told me he killed other girls. It was really no big deal to him. And that was what he was intending to do to me. We talked for hours. There were moments when I just wanted to give up. I didn't feel like I could go on. I kept on. I did. I kept on. And at one point he stopped talking. And I knew it. I could feel it. This was it. I'd run out. He'd run out. And I opened up again. I asked, what do I do? And the answer came, and the words that came were love him. You need to truly love this man. Now, I had an argument in my head at this moment. As you might imagine, this is not what I wanted to do. This was not the guidance that I was looking for. I didn't think I could do it, but I did. I did. I just let go, no longer pleading for my life, no longer hoping that we were going to go to a hotel, which I'd been asking him to over and over again. And I just let go and I opened my heart and I just loved this person. And something shifted. I don't know how long it took, but something shifted in that car. And it was almost as if a dream. The whole thing did feel like a nightmare. But suddenly there was this dream I was living in because the car was moving. And this cowboy took me to a hotel. And he promised that he was going to come back later that day. And he told me where he was going. He believed we were friends. So when my friend Marianne made sure that we locked and deadbolted that door right away and called the police, I was still in shock. At the police station, I picked his picture out of a book of potential suspects. And as we left the police station to go find some lunch, I had a moment I will never forget. This is the highlight for me. I was walking down this dusty street. It was hot and I was scared. This terrifying experience had just happened to me. It was just this one street town with a couple of bars, a movie theater, a diner. And as we approached the diner, I stopped in my tracks in that hot sun and I felt a lightning bolt go through me. And the fear just disappeared because I knew that what had happened to me had been the greatest gift of all. I had been shown in no uncertain terms that what I had believed all of my life was true, that there is a higher power I could tune into, something greater than myself. And when I searched my soul in that moment, I found, oh, love. This is something I had believed in since I was a little girl, that love is the most powerful force of all. And in that moment, I actually felt joy. And instead of feeling like a victim, I felt empowered. A little backstory: when I was 7, I had experienced my concept of God talking to me, sitting in a field beside my home. I had a relationship with God, and I asked God, why are people so unhappy? And because I just was noticing a lot of unhappy people in my life, and I didn't get it. And I heard this voice at the time that said, Kat, you're here to teach people how to get what they really want. And you are here to teach people about love. So this terrible, terrifying experience gave me proof about love, that I needed to carry out that mission that I had been given as a 7-year-old little girl. So that's a little backstory. A little more, 5 years, fast forward 5 years. So when I was 12, and I was asked to give a commencement speech for my church. It was a confirmation. It was a Methodist church, and there was about 1,000 people in our congregation, and we were on the radio every day. So I was asked to do this despite the fact, or maybe because of it, I had a passionate participation in the class where I questioned the teachers, the Bibles, and my own the Bibles, the Bible, and my own religious beliefs. And I was actually thrown out of the confirmation class more than once for that questioning of a 12-year-old. I was probably pretty sassy. But when I stepped up to that pulpit and I spoke with the hope that my mother would hear my talk on the radio, because on that day, she was in the hospital with late stage colon cancer. And she died the next morning. And I've always believed she went in peace after hearing me speak about my spiritual devotion, even though, truth be told, there's a lot more to that story. It was very sugar coated, but I did it for my mom. Things didn't go well for my family after that. My father lost his job and all of his money. He sold our house. And there came a time when he didn't even have enough money for us to live together as a family. So at the age of 15, I was homeless. I moved in with my sister and her friends, and my sister did her best, but she was just 17, and there were drug addicts in the house. There was partying that made it hard for me to keep up with my schoolwork, and I did not feel safe. I kept hope alive though. And that little light that had been lit when I was 7 was still there. So 2 years later, when my dad regained his financial footing, he bought us a house, and I managed to graduate from high school, and I planned to go to a local college. And that was when I decided to take the trip that summer to Denver with my friend. So after a moment of joy on that dusty street in Colorado, all I wanted to do was preach it from the rooftops. There's hope. Love is real. You really can reach out. There is something beyond this human linear experience, and you have a choice. You always have a choice. That's what I got as well. Oh, I had a choice. You would look like it maybe look like I didn't have a choice with a gun pointed at my head with in the middle of nowhere. So many things, but I had a choice, and I used my power of choice to create what was for me an experience of a miracle. So from there I was like, I'm on a mission, and I felt like Nancy Drew, right? I've cracked the code, if you remember Nancy Drew books, and I thought, this is what I'm going to do. But But even though I had clarity in that moment, I shut it down for a long time because my life took many twists and turns after that. I found when I told the story of what had happened to me, people didn't want to hear about the miracle part. They wanted to hear about the drama and how did you get out of it? And oh my gosh, there's so many other things that were dramatic about that. And I found when I told the story, I really I got mad because people were not really interested to hear the miracle part about love and how it actually is so powerful. And we all are at choice. Nobody wanted to hear that story. So I married an older man. I settled down. We bought a house. I had two beautiful children. My husband was successful in a fruit business, and I worked my way up the ladder of the United States Postal Service, and everything looked good on the outside. But what was happening on the inside was a different story. I was home alone on a cold, rainy fall day, recovering from a surgery intended to heal a mysterious chronic illness. And all of a sudden, I just started to cry. Then a dam burst and the tears wouldn't stop. And as the rain poured down on the roof, a truth was revealed. I had sold out on my knowing. I had sold out on who I really was. I had wandered off the path of my heart seeking a normal life. I had forgotten my life's mission. So on that day, that inner light began to shine again, a little more brightly. I began the process of opening that door once again. I read spiritual books. I read personal growth books. Started going to seminars, workshops. I sought alternative healing methods. And during that time, I healed my body and my soul. I was sitting in a newly remodeled master bedroom. This was about 7 years later, that whole healing journey. And I was reading the morning paper one Sunday when I saw an article about life coaching. And this is one of those moments, people, like when you get the tingles all up and down your arms. I read the story and I just had this knowing. Ah, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've been looking for since I was 7, when I knew I had a purpose, when I knew there was something. And then those experiences with, losing my mom and being homeless and then being kidnapped. And even the moments of losing my way and finding my way back. I'm getting choked. This is the part that chokes me up. Is that, and I'm feeling it in my heart right now, with the life journey. It's the life journey. Why I'm telling you this story, and we'll be telling more of the story, the really vulnerable parts about how hard it was after, not just during that kidnapping, but after. And to this day, how there is still a terror inside of me that can get activated, that I have to manage. There are things I have to manage. But when I found life coaching as a career, I realized I could use everything for the good of others. And I don't want to just sound like a goody two shoes here, like, oh, I'm all about it being in service. It's so selfish. It's so selfish in this way, is that it just feels really good to take my life experience and use what I have learned to help other people. It just feels good. It feels right. So I took a leap. I took the training. I went to the Coactive Training Institute. I did all the things to make coaching my career for that reason. I learned about marketing, and it was not easy. I spent money, I spent time. Built up a successful enough coaching business to quit the Postal Service. I sold my house so I would not have that mortgage. I bought a house that had apartments in it so I would have more income. I did so many things so that this could be my career because I knew it was my calling and I wanted it to be forever, not just a hobby or something. I wanted it to be forever. So I put the time and effort and money into it so that I could have it be something I always got to do for this sake of my joy, for the sake of my life purpose being lived out. I had so many challenges. My first marriage ended. I moved to Los Angeles and my whole coaching business fell apart. I had to start it from scratch. I had to do all the things again because I had been in emotional turmoil when my marriage ended and I had just kind of dropped all the business building things. And funny enough, when you drop things, things fall apart. That's what happened to me. I built my business back up and there was this moment. So I got into a good place. I was a relationship coach for about 10 years. But I had a moment in the housing crash here in the States in 2008. I had a big financial loss to my house. There was a CTI, the Coactive Training Institute, where I worked. They went through a big lot of things. And I knew that there was another level I had to go to in order to save my coaching business. And I realized that I could use this a formula that had helped me save my life, literally save my life. So I actually call this formula the soul search process. I wrote a book about it. It's called The Soul Search. But I went, this is a moment, another one. And so in this story I'm telling you today, there are many stories, as you can see. This is a part of what I want to share with you today and ongoing. When we know each other's stories, oh, there is so much inspiration because it's never, okay, whatever, saved my life and now everything was hunky dory after that. No. So here I am in 2008 and I really got serious about what were those elements that helped me save my life. And again, I wrote a book. I have a whole training course on it. But what I did with it was I used it to help me recreate my coaching business. And within a year, I'd actually doubled my client base. And within 3 years, my husband, Curtis, was able to quit his full time job and join me in our business because I got it. I had enough success as a coach at that time. And I had learned, oh, here's how conscious creation works. Remember what I talked about. There's some elements about love, there's some elements about being at choice. So I was able to bring my business building strategies and all the experience and the training I've had, because years of training, I took building training from other people so that I could learn how to build my business. And now I'd learned how to do it. And I had those real life experiences that I brought from the training that I could bring to other people because this is what I'm passionate about is this one profession we call coaching because it is a profession that helps people to access their own love that they have inside of them, that real true love for themselves, for other people. It's an energy, I think of the energy of love. It helps them be at choice and to make choices that are good for them and good for other people. So I brought all of this together. I also went through a seminary. I was ordained as an interfaith minister. I started doing sermons. I did many, many sermons for years. I got really clear on what my passion was, what my message is, what I most want to teach people. And I brought it all together and I created a business academy for coaches, which seemed, if you told me that, even 5, 10 years ago, or I guess it's probably like 16. I would have thought, no, that I don't really think that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to change the world, people. I'm here to like light the world on fire. But what I got, and this is what I want you to get when you think about your own life story, it's a journey. I kept following guidance, and there came this moment where I knew this was what I was intended to do. I call my business Soul Driven Success for a reason. The reason that's the name that came to me when I really got clear on my story. It was the terminology soul driven that I had learned. Whatever your concept of God or spirit or universe might be, or soul, I'd actually learned to listen to that inner guidance. And for me, there's also this guidance that comes from some source in the universe. And whatever that might be, I don't care. I call it soul. I call it soul driven. And that's the success that matters to me. There's so many types of success. To me, soul driven success includes financial success. It includes, some of the linear aspects of life because our soul wants us to be happy, to have the things that bring us joy. So it's all encompassing. So that's my story. It's a real haiku, maybe version of many stories. There's a deeper dive on some of the shows coming up that I'm going to do on elements of my story and it's the things that happened to me that matter, that will matter to you because we're all just people. We all go through these things. There's one thing I've really learned in being a coach leader and having my own community with people from all over the world is this is a truth, is that we are all have fundamentally we are wired the same as humans. And then we have this myriad of beautiful experiences due to our life, where we are in our life and the culture we're born in, and all kinds of things that make up our identity. I'm going to be bringing you stories from the people in my community. As I said, as I read their stories, I get touched every single time when they dive into some of the hardest moments of their life and some of the most joyful. There is an inspiration that I want to share with the world because their stories matter, your stories matter, your message matters. So this is what I want you to take from today's show is to be thinking about your coaching and your coaching business and how it aligns with who you have always been, what you know of yourself, the experiences you've had that have been the most challenging, maybe the most shameful, ones that you think, I don't ever want to tell anybody that story. That would be hard. What's the point? I want you to think about what the point might be. If that one story were the one that touched another person and let them know they're not alone, because that's what our stories do. And as a coach, that's your job too. We're coaching people, and that's like we think of that as our main job, but we're also here to inspire people, to give people hope. And that is, if you want to think about it as a marketing, how we tell people about coaching, how we enroll them to engage with us and our services could come right down to having them feel seen and known and giving them hope. And I'm going to end with, and whether this is how I look at it, whether somebody hires me or, it comes any further into my realm, besides, I'm happy at the end of the day if I know, and this is literally true today. I got a message from someone who's been in my community for a few years, and she wrote and said, I listened to your podcast today on coaching confidence, and it gave me hope. It was just what I needed. I feel that's also a part of for our coaches. For coaches, what we're here to do is to continually let people know I see you, I get you. You're okay, I'm okay. Here's a little dose of hope for you so that you too can connect with your life purpose, what you're here to do, and shine your light. Thank you for joining me today on this special episode. Stay tuned for the upcoming shift in the show as it becomes more story driven. And I'd love to hear your story. If you have a story, if you're a coach with a story that you would like to share on the show, I'd love to hear it. Please reach out. Thanks for listening.